This is a practice for the upper body meridians, the lungs and large intestine, and the heart and small intestine. So let's begin by connecting with the breath, feeling it arriving at the tip of the nose, flowing down the back of the throat, and filling the whole of the lungs. And as we tune into the breath, we take the opportunity to pause and then to soften. Softening the physical body and also softening our mental expectations. Allowing ourselves to come into each practice fresh and open with a sense of beginner's mind. And so we can connect first with the body, noticing any sensations in the body as it is right in this moment. Next, we tune in with the heart, aware of any moods or feelings or emotions that are present. Remembering that we're not trying to change anything. We're simply acknowledging what's here with us in this moment. Thirdly, we can check in at the level of the head, noticing thoughts that arise, ideas, images, the activity of the head mind. Recognizing too that we have a vast capacity for awareness, and that these thoughts can float through, just like clouds passing through a vast blue sky. Next, we can commit to our practice, maybe bringing hands together at the heart, and making the deep wish that from this moment we cultivate mindful awareness of the body, heart, and mind, trusting that it's for our own deepest well-being and for the benefit of all those whose lives ours touches. And deepening your breath now, as we move into the sequence that's designed to draw energy, chi, life force, through the upper body meridian pairs. We'll begin in butterfly, maybe sitting on a cushion so that there's an anterior tilt to the sacrum, and bringing the soles of the feet together in front of you with a diamond shape between the legs. Imagining that if the head were to come down towards the floor, it could rest on the feet. Beginning by finding an appropriate edge, by resting the hands in front of you or coming down onto the forearms, maybe with the head placed on stacked fists or a cushion. And once you've found your edge, the edge that feels doable, where there's physical sensation, but nothing that triggers anxiety or threat, then find stillness, softening the muscles of the body and waiting for time and gravity to open us. We can rest here for 3 minutes, bringing attention to our breathing. So as you inhale, draw the breath all the way down into the lowest lobes of the lungs, feeling the diaphragm pushing the organs in the abdominal cavity so that it feels as if we're breathing into the belly. We can also contemplate the lungs while we're resting here. They're like vast, complex sponges extending from the collarbones all the way down to the diaphragm and filling almost the entire chest cavity. The right lung is divided into 3 lobes, but the left just has 2 because of the position of the heart. Our lungs do a vital job. Each day we take in about 23,000 breaths, which are filtered through the lungs to add fresh oxygen to our blood, which in turn carries that oxygen to every single cell in the body. And the carbon dioxide that is generated during the metabolism of food can then be expelled on every exhale. The lungs are a vast network that take in, filter, assimilate, utilize, and then discard what the body no longer needs. So feeling as you draw in the in-breath that it fills every part of the lungs. And as the diaphragm extends, feel a sense of energy drawing into the belly, the ground of our being. On the exhale, imagine that energy rising up towards the heart center and noticing whether the body seems to lengthen a little around that rising energy. The lung meridian forms a pair with the large intestine, and as we take butterfly pose, we can feel this pressure on the torso and the abdomen, stimulating these meridian lines. And after 3 minutes or so, we can gently press the hands down into the ground, lifting the torso and releasing from the pose, allowing the legs to straighten out in front of you until any deep, achy sensation has dissolved. The next pose is seal pose, or you can take Sphinx if there's any lower back vulnerability. So turning around to lie face down on your mat, widening the feet so that the toes touch the outer edges of the mat, and then lifting up the heart. If you're taking Sphinx, then bring the elbows just in front of the shoulder line, the palms of the hands together, and feel a sense of drawing up into the heart center. If your body feels it can go deeper, then bringing the hands to the outer edge of your mat, fingers pointing to the sides, and straighten into the arms, bringing a deeper curve into the lower back. If you feel vulnerable at all, maybe placing a pillow underneath the rib cage, so there's a sense of having something to rest down onto. Seal pose stimulates the lung and heart meridians as we lengthen the chest away from the abdomen and open through the front of the body. We can also stimulate the pressure points in the fingers, which affect each meridian in the upper body. The thumb is the lung meridian. The first finger is the large intestine meridian. The middle finger is the pericardium meridian. The ring finger, the triple heater meridian. And the small finger houses both the heart and small intestine meridian points. So once again, drawing in the fullness of the breath, feeling it moving down into the whole of the lungs, and then pushing into the abdominal cavity, squeezing the intestines. On the exhale, imagine that gathered energy rising up into the heart, lengthening through the front of the body. We can now visualize where these meridian lines move through the body. The lung begins in the middle of the body, and runs down into the large intestine before it turns upwards again, moving through the diaphragm into the lungs, across the front of the clavicle and down the inner arm, extending at the tip of the thumb. The large intestine meridian begins at the tip of the index finger, goes up the back of the arm to the shoulder, where one branch goes through the neck and mouth to the side of the nose, and the other branch goes down into the lungs, diaphragm, and large intestine. At an emotional level, the lung, large intestine chi is associated with courage and reverence, the ability to experience our moments as precious and to stay in the experience, whatever it is. If our lung chi becomes depleted or imbalanced, it's linked to feelings of grief associated with loss. Poor lung chi is expressed not only through extended bouts of sadness, but also feeling emotionally blocked or unable to express our grief. At the mental level, healthy lung and large intestine chi is connected with an ability to encounter difficulty with tenacity, a willingness to endure, and personal confidence. If our lung chi becomes deficient, our thinking may feel muddled or cloudy, or we may feel disconnected. And at the end of 3 minutes, releasing the pose, lying flat on the belly, maybe resting the head on the hands like a pillow, and waiting for the sensations in the body to dissolve into the earth. You can then ease your way back into child's pose as a counter pose for the lower back. Child's pose also gives us the opportunity to turn our attention inwards once more, to soothe and nourish as we find a place of tranquility and safety. We then ground again with the next in-breath, filling up the belly with this orb of energy that moves out front, out the back, and extends to the sides. The next exhale gives us a sense of energy rising and lengthening once more until we feel the rhythm of the breath and its effect on the body. And while you're in child's pose, you may like to contemplate the direction of flow of the heart meridian and small intestine. The heart meridian has 3 branches, each of which begins in the heart. One runs down through the diaphragm to the small intestine. Another runs up through the throat and tongue to meet the eye. And the third runs across the chest and down the inner arm, ending at the tip of the little finger. The small intestine meridian begins in the little finger and runs up the outer arm to the shoulder, where it splits. One branch running down into the heart, diaphragm, stomach, and small intestine, while the other runs up into the face and across the corner of the eye to the ear. And at the end of child's pose, we'll move into quarter dog pose. Coming forward onto all fours, and then placing your left forearm perpendicular to the upper arm, and extend your right arm out, resting your elbow on the floor. Keeping the hips back above the knees, which should be hip width apart. And allowing the back to arch and the belly and underarms to drape downwards towards the floor. If you do have sensitivity in your shoulders, then it can help to place a cushion under your head to keep them higher. We stay in this pose for 3 minutes or so in order to stimulate the lung and heart meridians as gentle pressure is placed across the shoulder joint and the upper arms. In this pose, we can still feel the in-breath being drawn into the belly. And then on the out-breath, it feels like descending with gravity as energy moves into the heart and deepens this opening of the back and the chest. Keep softening into the muscles as much as you can, unless there's any sharp or electrical pain. And then ease out of the pose gently, finding a variation where you can stay at the edge with a sense of openness and curiosity about the sensations that arise. And while we relax in quarter dog, we can contemplate the physical qualities of the heart. It's a large muscle that's neither skeletal nor visceral. We call it a cardiac muscle because it has the same strength and force of skeletal muscles, and yet it's not under our control. It's the size of the human fist, and within the Chinese tradition is considered the supreme manager, overseeing all the workings of the body-mind. When the heart and small intestine qi is balanced, we feel active, alive, full of vitality. But when it's out of balance, we experience poor circulation, cold hands and feet, or hot flushes, varicose veins, or heart disease. At an emotional level, when heart qi is healthy, we feel warm and nourished and able to give nourishment to others. There's a sense of inner peace and harmony and the ability to build healthy relationships. Heart qi is related to our vital center and spiritedness. When the small intestine qi is out of balance, there's poor sorting. Unclear information and emotions dominate and deteriorate our inner system. And when the heart and small intestine qi is harmonious, we have access to our intrinsic happiness and are able to bear witness to and intimately relate with all aspects of life. When it's time to come out of the pose, we inhale back onto all fours, and then taking a few breaths rounding the spine before changing sides. Now stretching out the left arm in front and resting down on the elbow. So remembering to keep the hips back above the knees so that we don't put too much strain on the upper back. And then with the head resting on the floor, we get the sense that the belly and the underarms can drape downwards, increasing this back bend. And we settle into the pose, allowing the breath to deepen and to soothe any physical sensations in the body. Remembering that we're gathering this pool of chi in the lower belly, and we can visualize it flowing out on the out-breath, smoothing and softening all the areas of intensity or unusual sensation. On the in-breath, we can also gently engage Mula Bandha, the perineal muscles that we use as if we were stopping the flow of urine. In this way, we hold the energy in the torso. And when the energy rises up to the heart center, the chin is slightly drawn down to the throat, holding the upper lock closed, so that we feel this flowing and swirling of energy in the whole of the torso. We use this downward flow of the in-breath to counteract our daily life experience, where normally energy is rising up and out, and we lose it through discursive thought, excessive communication, or worries and rumination. And so we use our deepening breath to return home to the body, to tune into the reality of the present moment, and allow ourselves to settle there, whatever the present moment experience. And when it's time to come out of quarter dog, you inhale as you come back onto all fours, and then rounding the spine once again. Our next pose will be the full forward bend. So take yourself now into a seated position with the legs stretched out in front. This pose stimulates the lung, heart, and intestine meridians as they flow through the torso, and also the abdominal region, which is under pressure in the forward bend. So finding your way down into the forward bend, maybe resting the head on a cushion or lifting the sits bones slightly on a blanket. And then allow time and gravity to ease you into the pose. Letting the muscles of the legs go soft, the toes may flop out or inwards depending on the rotation of your hips. And getting the sense that we can rest here in this quiet yin practice, learning that we can access our natural state of awareness in the mind by coming into places where the sensations of the body ground us, anchor us in the present moment. We can gently engage the perineal muscles on the in-breath, and then feel that energy rising up to the heart center on the out-breath, yet kept within the body by a gentle squeezing of the chin against the chest. And with this conscious internal movement of energy, we may also feel how the body, the external structures, shapes itself around that inner flow of chi or life force. noticing if the mind wanders during periods of silence. And then keep reconnecting back to the breath, back to the sensations in the body that can help us develop qualities of focus and concentration, as well as bringing physical benefit of stretching and releasing blocks from the body. And when it's time to come out, we gently lift the torso, waiting for those deep, achy sensations to dissolve away. And then coming down onto your back for Shavasana, allowing it to be a pose of total relaxation. Yet also remembering what is said about Shavasana. It's the easiest pose to learn, but the hardest one to master. It's a pose where we can experience full relaxation in the body. And our tendency often is for the mind then to zone out or to fall asleep. So see if you can keep a yang mind, a vibrant, alive, alert mind, even whilst we're resting on the earth in this yin pose. We can stay in Shavasana for as long as we have by pausing the recording. And when it's time to come out, we gently wiggle the toes and the fingers. Allow one knee followed by the other to draw up into the chest, giving ourselves a kind, nurturing hug. And then rolling over to whichever side seems to beckon, and pushing your way back up into a cross-legged pose for our dedication. This is the opportunity to share with others any wholesome emotions that we've connected with during this practice. If we've had feelings of tranquility, joyfulness, we imagine sharing them out with those close to us and with all sentient beings in ever-widening circles, making the deep wish that we may all be happy, be free from the difficulties of life, and may find joy and peace and ease. Namaste.